the Daredevil Reborn series. It's pretty much DOA, but let's go ahead and talk about it. Now, there have been a lot of just talks on the internet about who should be in Daredevil Reborn, who should they bring back, who should they introduce. Now, more importantly, let's go ahead and talk about it. Now. Charlie Cox was a part of the initial Marvel Netflix series deal they had, which included Daredevil, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Punisher, um, and the Defenders. And that right there set the precedent for a lot of people when it came to superhero comic book shows and superhero shows and the realism that they can have compared to what we've seen in the Marvel films, which has a bit more flair and creative freedom while subjecting too much comedy. So it's good to see more serious take on it, which is why I like the DCEU because it's a bit more serious than what we've seen from Marvel. But I digress. When it was said that they had canceled all of those shows instead of actually moving those over, it was pretty heartbreaking for a lot of people because they were such good shows. Now, if anything, the best out of all of them, of course, was Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Daredevil probably him number one spot for most people. But I enjoyed those three the most. I did like the Defenders. Iron Fist, I didn't like the first season, but the second season I thought was much better. The Punisher, I didn't like. I thought the first season was all right, and just the second season just turned to a total crap fest. But um, when they did say that they were going to bring back Daredevil, especially with Charlie Cox reprising the role, it was a much just hopeful move that many fans of that series and of the character actually was hoping that they'll actually bring back more of the other characters as well. And of course, when they confirmed that Vincent D'Onofrio was actually a part of the MCU while reprising his role as the Kingpin, bring him into the Hawkeye series, and now he's going to reprise his role again in future projects, including this Daredevil series, apparently. That again, it will open up the door for many other characters to come back. Unfortunately, that's not the case. For one, I will say this: Jon Bernthal as the Punisher, I did like him as the Punisher. I didn't like everything surrounding the character, the writing and stuff. I didn't like the emotional baggage that tried to throw to the character. Just again, I did not like the Punisher. I think the Punisher was probably the weakest one of the series. And what's kind of got me a little worried is because how they watered the character down so much, despite the violence that was in the show and all of the female empowerment that was in the show, they actually overtaken the show. And they've already showed that they've watered down Daredevil, and they've even watered down Kingpin to a certain extent. What are they going to do to the Punisher, one of the most violent characters in Marvel? Is he going to be violent? Is it going to be good? Is there going to be high tension? It's got me worried because Daredevil made an appearance in She-Hulk, and his appearance in She-Hulk was completely trash. His appearance in She-Hulk did not save the show from being garbage. So, I mean, it's pretty much going to be dead on arrival, but do they actually think just bringing back some of the quality actors and some of the popular characters that that's going to make this show any good? And then what makes it weird is this supposed to be, I guess, is a part of the multiverse thing where the Netflix versions were one universe, and then you got this version is a different universe. So it's gonna be a little bit more lighthearted. And I'm not. My thing is, I'm not understanding who Disney's gearing this to. Is it for kids? Is it for fans? Is it for the woke mob? Like, honestly, who is going to be watching this? And who in the hell is going to put one of the most violent characters in Marvel into a kid show like this? That's one of the problems I had with Wolverine when it came to the X-Men films. For as violent, before we did get to see some violence to the character, but Wolverine is a beast, and when he gets in a fight, and blood is going to be shed, and you really don't see that in the X-Men films. And I feel like Even though we got to see just how gritty, how brutal Daredevil could be, as well as the Punisher in the Netflix series, I doubt we're going to get that. So how watered down are they going to do this guy? Now, I did expect to hear that Karen and Foggy were going to be returning, but apparently they're not. And what makes it weird is because they were the heart and soul of this show. They grounded the character. They gave him much more rounded characterization, their influence and their stories, and how he goes about approaching these difficult situations, both as Daredevil and as Matt Murdock. And they're not even going to be in the show. Now, again, I understand that they try to, I guess they're playing it as this whole multiverse thing, but I think that's just a dumb move. They were much loved characters. In fact, my top 10, I believe both of them actually made the list. Especially Foggy. His character impressed me so much that I was like, I got to put this man on the list. He was definitely top 5. But to see that these two beloved characters won't be coming back for this, at least now, I haven't seen any information regarding them going to be returning, and I think that's just a bad move on their part. Another thing that's they've even somewhat rumored that maybe Luke Cage is going to return, and I don't think that's the case. I really don't. Jessica Jones was a highly popular, and she along with Daredevil helped push it and make it pretty popular. And to see that she's not even going to be in there, like, what would be the point of Luke Cage being in the damn? And I would love Mike Holt as Luke Cage. He was perfect for the role. But I don't think they're going to do it. I think it's just speculation on the internet. I think it's a bad move that they don't bring back these characters. I think I from day one thought it was an exceptionally just dumb move to say that these characters do not exist in the same universe when they perfectly fit into it. And it could have actually opened up more potential for more movies and different series. Like this whole Daredevil Reborn wouldn't be a Daredevil Reborn. It could have been just Defenders series or Heroes for Hire series. But and they could have teamed up with Spider-Man. They could have been in the Spider-Man No Way Home. Oh, I'm sorry. Matt Murdock was in Spider-Man No Way Home. So, do you see? It's just a bunch of missed opportunities. Like I said, Daredevil Reborn is DOA, and the fact and the fact that some of these beloved characters aren't going to be returning. They got like the quote unquote main characters, because usually when you think of Daredevil in the comics, you think of Elektra, Bullseye, Kingpin, Punisher. You don't really think of these other characters. You don't think about Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, Foggy, Karen, the news reporter guy. You don't really think of any of those characters. And then another thing that's kind of got me interested to see, even though I don't want to see it, is Daredevil crossed over into She-Hulk. So will She-Hulk cross back over into Daredevil? Interesting. Pretty freaking interesting. So, unless I get some definitive and honestly, like I said, I like the Punisher. I would rather them said Elektra was going to come back, not the Punisher. Not the Punisher. So I'm not sure what they're going to do with this Disney Plus Daredevil Reborn. They've already butchered the character in She-Hulk, and I don't think that it's going to get any better. That's why a lot of the shows now that they've had ain't doing too well. They're not doing well at all, and I think this whole Daredevil Reborn is pretty much just nostalgia. It's gonna maybe the first episode will jump off pretty good. Maybe the second episode after that is just gonna fall because the whole woke crap is gonna be in it. Characters that are expected to be in it that help give it depth and help just make it an enjoyable experience. And that's just a thing. That's one important thing that I don't think that Disney recognizes, is that Daredevil wasn't a popular show simply because of Matt Murdock's character and the Kingpin. There was a really good supporting cast, and that supporting cast definitely made that show what it was. And right now, I think they're just focusing too much on the heavy hitters. That's why you only hear them say they're going to bring back the Kingpin. You heard them say they're going to bring back Punisher, but you're not going to see them bring back the core characters of the show or much of the supporting cast. Now, I did hear that Vincent, the Kingpin's wife, was going to return, but she was going to be recast, which I, I mean, I guess. I mean, I don't got really particular thoughts on that. I thought the woman in the actual Daredevil series did an exceptional job with the character, and I would have liked to have seen more had the series continued. But